friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life, and today's Thursday and we have had a lot of rain, but today it's in the 80s. The ground is a little damp. I'm out here barefoot, but it's absolutely beautiful out. So I came out earlier and I was really impressed with the flowers and how they're doing. So I wanted to share a little bit with you, and I'm going to focus on 3, and I will share afterwards why I'm focusing on them, or maybe a little bit here too. So hold on. So here I have 3 herbs that I've just harvested. I've got the BeeBalm over here, and I've got the chamomile to the right here. It's right next to the Feverfew. And the difference, because for most people are not going to see the difference. I mean, they look like little daisies, but the difference is in the leaves. So I'm going to try to get this a little closer so you can see the difference between the leaves. So the one on the right, with kind of like a spidery type leaf, that is the chamomile. The one with the wider leaves are the Feverfew. And I still have a few more Feverfew that I want to harvest and get those drying. So I have a few up through here. These are in with my roses, my knockout roses, and I harvest those too, but for different reasons. So that's what I'm doing outside. I'm going to go in because it's really muggy and I can talk clear inside. So basically, Feverfew is a daisy-like type flower, but it's an herb, and it's part of the aster family. If you have allergies to aster-type flowers, this might not work for you, but sometimes it can, and it could be because when you go and you steep it in hot water, it might help. I know there are some flowers of the aster family that I have to stay away from because I can get a rash and stuff, but after I steep it in hot water, I tend to do okay. So everybody's going to be different. Let's see. Feverfew, I'm going to share a little bit of the history. Long history in traditional and folk medicine for many ailments, not just headaches, fevers, rheumatoid arthritis, joint pain, toothaches, insect bites, and stomach aches. So some of these things you might be able to make an ointment with it. Those with the RA, you might be able to make an ointment and use that, or drink the tea. I am doing some more studies on that, and so I can maybe, hopefully, be able to create something like that. I don't have RA at all. I know a lot of people that do. And with the Lyme disease, with the pain and stuff like that, they would sometimes try to diagnose me for that, and I said, what justification do you have for it? See, with Lyme disease, you get misdiagnosed for a variety of things. So, I just kind of like, tell me the root cause, tell me why you think that, give me the background. And if they can justify it, yeah, I'm all for what they're telling me. But I do tend to go with the herbs when it's a disease of sorts that cause a lot of pain. Let's see, okay, in the 18th century, this is when it became something that people used as aspirin with the headaches and stuff. But people cultivate it in their gardens because of the daisy-like, it's a very delicate flower. And it looks pretty out there. So they may not use it for the purposes that I do, but aesthetically for their gardens, it can be quite beautiful. And that's where some of the history has come from, and that's why people might have this in their gardens. If they don't have this, they might have the chamomile. So it's kind of cool. Now, some caution. Feverfew may cause some side effects, such as digestive pain, heartburn, diarrhea, constipation, nausea, asthma, dizziness, tiredness, and menstrual cramps. These are things to know. When you start taking a medication, know how you feel before you start using, whether it's an herb or a medicine. Know how you're feeling, and then just kind of be aware that when you start a medication because it's been prescribed for you, understand that you may have side effects. A lot of times when you call a physician's office and talk to the nurse, they might say, yeah, that's typical, but it might not be healthy to have those side effects. Sometimes we put up, there's an antibiotic that I just got off, I had to go on it, but and the side effects were horrible, and it caused a lot of joint and bone pain, and it's just one of those things. It was the only one that after they did the testing, it was the only one that would help it. So I had a hard time taking it, but I wanted to get rid of the particular infection that was going on. So anyways, we're not talking about that. Pregnant women should avoid it because it can cause contractions. Now, how true is that? I don't know. I never took it when I was pregnant. But when they put these warnings out there, it's because they want you to be safe. And so if you are pregnant, I would recommend not using it unless you've already talked to your doctor and you've shared with them that, I've been using it for years. They may say, well, why don't we cut back? Or they may say, eliminate it permanently. They may say, you're fine. Every doctor is different and they know you. So use caution. And also, you might not want to use it breastfeeding because they say there's not enough research to say whether or not it's safe for nursing. So if you want to use it while you're breastfeeding, that is up to you and your physician and how you want to move forward. So, but it says there's not enough research. You're going to find that a lot of times when people talk about herbs, there's not enough scientific research. And what you're going to do is you're going to be receiving information from people who have used it. Now, I have a lot of allergies in terms of some flowers, but what it is I could get rashes. I can start having asthma attacks and stuff like that. Not as bad as my husband. I just have a hard time breathing. But for the most part, after talking to my allergist who shared how I can do this, I do okay. But sometimes when it's really muggy, like today, if the air pressure is low, it can cause a lot of stuff. Now, these are not bothering me right now, so that's cool. But that's something to keep in mind if you have those kind of issues. Now, people with allergies to ragweed or other related plants from the Astraceae or Compositae plant families such as daisies, marigolds, and chrysanthemums, you should avoid it. Now, those three flowers I don't have a problem with. I grow them all the time. But one of the ones that came up as an allergy was ragweed. Now, see, that's another thing. You might have allergy to one, but not another. And that's why it's really, really important when you start a new herb is if you know you have allergies to different stuff, you want to take your time and try it. So how do you know if you have an allergy? You can go to the allergist. My allergist, when I was having all kinds of rashes out in my garden, I had a bunch of stuff. I just brought stuff out into her, and she took clippings off, and she did the skin testing that they do, and that's how we found out the herbs at that time that I was growing, found out what I was allergic to. And some of them is, I might not have an allergy, but I will have a sensitivity to it, which means you have to make sure, like for me with the teas, I have to make them into a hot tea. And that's fine. So make sure that if you have allergies, to be aware of that. And if you have an allergist who can do these skin tests from natural herbs, ask them if they'll do that for you. A good allergist will be happy to do that because they want you to enjoy nature just as much as you do. Consumption of fresh leaves and flowers may cause canker sores and swelling of the mouth in some individuals. And here we are talking about, I can't even think, the Feverfew. I am so sorry. I am tired. Let's see, I wanted to share a few other things. Now, in Canada, they have a dosage amount which they say is 125 milligrams of dried leaves containing at least 0.2% parthenolide. I'm not sure if I said that right, for the prevention of migraines. Now, in home therapy, when you're making these yourself, it's really kind of hard to determine, did you get 125 milligrams? So you kind of have, and you can't test for the active ingredients, unless you have the equipment to do that. So all I do is I dry it and I just put a little bit in at a time with my mixtures and stuff. The remedy seems to be reliant on cumulative building effect in helping to prevent migraines. What does that mean? What it means is that if you always are chronically getting migraines and you want to avoid it, the best thing to do is to start using Feverfew a little bit at a time, and over the course of 2 to 4 weeks, you might find that your headaches are resolving. But what it's saying is the cumulative effect is that it builds up in your system. There are medications out there that require it to build up in your system in order for it to work with the disease or whatever ailment that you were dealing with. And that's the same thing with Feverfew if you always get migraines. Now, I got migraines horribly when I was really fighting Lyme disease. And I'm having some flares, possibly because of the rain and the thickness of the air and stuff. But I'm not having, I get up and I have a headache, but I'm pushing through with some water, and I'm hoping that that resolves it. Sometimes I've taken aspirin twice over the last week, which I don't like to do, but I'm glad that I'm harvesting fresh herbs because that's going to be good. Now, so they say that the best results will be after you've taken like 3 to 4 weeks, you might see the results. Now, I wanted to reiterate that because a lot of people, they'll try something and say, oh, it doesn't work. Like some people will try the turmeric with pepperine. I know, I talk about it all the time. People will use it and they say, oh, I don't see an effect. The reason is it has to start, you have to kind of like build it up a little bit and allow it to work in your body. In medicine, even with pharmaceutical medications, there are some things that you need to build up. And then there are some things that work right away. And then because of those, you might have to take them every 6 hours or every 12 hours. With this, you're just building something up in your body. Now, what happens if you're not getting headaches for a while and you forget to take that cup of tea? That's okay, because if you get a headache or you're in a stressful situation and that might create a headache for you or you can't sleep, taking a little cup of tea with chamomile, Feverfew, and my BeeBalm, the 3 of them together, it works wonders. For me, it allows me to sleep and I wake without the headache. So you have to understand how your body responds to stress, allergens, people. Some people can cause stress. So use caution, but use what you know. And folks, I'm sharing some things here that you can go and you can research yourself, just to make sure that what I'm saying makes you comfortable. I like these 3 herbs, and that's why I grow them. And I grow them in abundance because I use them. And I end up with big half-gallon jars or quart jars to have on hand that I use throughout the winter months. I still have some BeeBalm that I didn't use at all, but I'm still harvesting this year because I don't want to not have it. And we had such a rainy season that I wasn't sure what our plants were going to do, but I'll tell you, this last week when we had all the rain, I am really impressed with all the plant life. Everything looks great. Some of the flowers look a little peaked because they got too much rain possibly, but they'll come back. I'm out trying to pick off all the dead flowers and stuff like that. Now, you can harvest these around the time that they're flowering. This is the time. What you do is, like I said, you might want to cut down about 1 foot. This is about 8 inches. You can cut down about 1 foot or so, but leave at least 1/3 of your plant left. If it's got a lot of little flowers, and I did leave some with little flowers, like this here, if I thought about it, I would have left it because of those cute little flowers there. But it'll be fine. I have tons of flowers out there. And it looks like I have no flowers left, but they're all crunched up. They're taking a nap, and they will blossom. This is my second harvest of this flower, this herb. This is my second harvest, and so I'm kind of excited. It's not a lot, But as I accumulate it and dry it, and how I personally dry it, because there's not a lot, I will take these and hang them. You know, I'll figure out a way, sort of like I did with my lilacs. I will just hang them to dry. And then as they're getting closer to drying, I might put them in a brown paper bag so that I can save the seeds. That way I can grow more. And then what happens is they go in the paper bag and the seeds get down to the bottom. And then you can try planting those later on. I haven't done that yet necessarily. I do want to seed save, but my Feverfew has come back and doubled from last year. And last year was the year that I planted it. So I'm really kind of excited about it. The plant has the highest levels of essential oils as it begins to flower. That's why you want to grab them when they're flowering, because they have the most medicinal properties at that point. But before it's in full bloom. Now these are kind of in full bloom, but they're not kind of like, the flowers are not falling off or anything, so I'm okay with that. The seeds are not edible. I want to make sure people know that. So when you're dealing with this, if you've got seeds, you do not want to eat the seeds. But you might like to harvest some to save for planting next year. To do this, wait until the plant has finished flowering and allow the seed heads to dry. So there really isn't much here that I'm going to actually have to worry about. Cut the stems and hang upside down, like I said, in a paper bag in a cool, dry location for a few days. And shake the bag for a little bit and separate out the little tiny seeds. And you can save those if you wish. Harvest on a warm day like today. That's why I'm out here today. Harvest on a day like today, it's like 78 to 80. It's behind me. And it's hot. My hair is sticking to my back. It's not fun, but that's the way it is. And let's see. And they say wait till mid-morning after the dew has dropped off. Right now it's about 2 or 3, actually it's around 3 o'clock. And we had a lot of moisture this morning from all the rain. But now it's dry. We were going to mow, but it was too wet this morning. So it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's fine. It's not, the sun isn't beating down on anything, so it's a safe time to harvest this. But basically, you wait until the dew is gone in the morning and then you harvest. But if you have rain from the night before and you see that your flowers are ready to harvest, that's when you do that. Choose healthy foliage. So if you ended up with some brown leaves, just get rid of them. You don't want to keep the brown leaves because there's no medicinal properties for that. And if it looks diseased or anything, just cut it back. My knockout roses, they do really well, and then they'll go through a spell where they start turning brown, and I'm not sure, and they're spotted. So what I do is I just cut them off. It's just pruning it. It makes the plant healthier. And the same thing goes for herbs and for feverfew and stuff like that. The same thing applies. You do not want to consume or do anything medicinal with plants that have the dead stuff in it, because it's dead. It's not going to have anything in it. If it was good, it would have all that green. It would have everything that would be wonderful. Cut the foliage and flowers cleanly with gardening shears or a sharp knife, leaving the bottom 2/3 of the plant intact. And that's pretty much what I did. I was thinking back, it was about 1/3, but it depends on how much you have there. For me, I took off the top 8 inches, and there's still quite a bit of plant left. And I only harvest the flower stems that are there. And unlike, I do the same thing with the chamomile. Yet with the BeeBalm, I go right to the next floral part there and cut it off there. BeeBalm is my favorite. This here will dry. I'm going to let them dry on a piece of paper and they'll be fine. There's a lot of things I do not dry in the oven or the dehydrator. I let my herbs like this dry on paper plates or in paper bags, and it doesn't take very long for these things to dry. The reason I'm going to do the BeeBalm on paper is because I'm going to show you. The petals see how they start falling off? It's just easier, and then I have them. And now I got BeeBalm petals everywhere. So that's what I do. That's why I do it. And these other herbs, I can do the same thing. I'm just going to do the Feverfew upside down, and then I'm going to put it in a large bag to put them in so that if any seeds fall out, I don't have to worry about them. And then I can just put them in a little container for another time. Let's see. So as I mentioned, when you're cutting back, leave all the new flowers, the ones that are not fully bloomed. Now, if you have tons and tons, just take what you want to have and what you have time to dry. Don't cut it all. If you don't have the space in your home or wherever you're drying, don't take it all, because you want the plant to continue to grow. And yes, some of it will go by, but it's healthier for the plant to do that. But take what you can, try that, and then go back in a day or two and see what else is out there and enjoy that. Okay, so this herb, this Feverfew, can be used fresh or dry. I tend to use it dried because, like right now, I don't have a headache. So, I just dry it, and that way I have it on hand. It can be brewed as a tea, taken as a tincture. I prefer to make my tinctures with dried herbs. And that way I know that there's no mold, there's no moisture building up and stuff. Some people do. I just prefer the dried herbs, so that's why I do it. But you can use fresh or dry to make a tincture. You can take that dried, and we're talking about the leaves and the flowers too. You can take that, and once they're dried, and then you can put it through a pestle or a coffee grinder and make capsules out of them. I don't do that. I haven't even thought of it really. But I suppose I could, because my husband might like it, because he's not big on teas. He'll drink tea, but he would rather give me a pill and Z's here. Everybody is different, and there are some things that I prefer in pill form, so that's why I make my turmeric and pepperine capsules, because it's just easier when I'm dealing with pain. Let's see, you can make homemade insect repellent. So I have not done that, but they say this is a good insect repellent, and I do like it in the flower garden because it's on the path that goes out back, to the garden as well as to the chicken coop. Maybe I should put it out near the chickens. They'd eat it. So to air dry, tie several stalks like I mentioned I was going to do, tie them together and hang upside down in a dark place for up to a week. Now, say you need it a little bit sooner, you can put it in your oven. Use the lowest temperature. Mine is at 170 degrees. When you do that, make sure your oven door is open slightly so that it doesn't just build up and cook your herbs. You don't want to cook them. You just want to dry them. You can use a dehydrator as well. Whatever you are most comfortable with. So because I really don't have to worry about anything, I've got another batch that I brought in last week. Those are dried. Those are ready for me to actually put into dry form and break them down. Okay, they said the dehydrator or oven set is at 140 degrees. My oven does not go down to 140. So if yours does, bring it down to there. Still, I recommend opening the door a little bit. I'll use low heat will help preserve the essential oils within it. You want the leaves to be dry and crumbly before you store them, but not so dry that they fall apart when you pick them up. So just so that they're dry, I wish I had some here that were dry, but if you're picking them up and they're crumbling, that's too far. You've gotten rid of a lot of the essential oils. Doesn't mean you can't use it? No. It's just better if you don't. Now, once dried, remove the leaves and the flowers from the stalk. So we're not going to use any of this stalk part at all. We're just using the leaves and the flowers. And store in a tight sealed glass jar in a dark pantry. I store all my herbs in my herbal room, our office room, because that room is always dark. We always keep the lights off unless we're in there to get something. But that's all you want to do is that. Now you can put it in the pestle after you've dried these. But if you want to keep the leaves, some people like to drink their tea, and I've done this a few times. They don't put it in a tea bag. They just they put it right into their teacup. And you can do that. You're drinking around the flower, or you can take something to kind of like pull them out. Now, you can use the leaves and flowers to make a tea to prevent headache. And also, this is a cool thing. You can make like a poultice or something. You can take the tea that you made, after it's cooled, apply to the skin as an insect repellent. And this is the part that I forgot about, is you take that because all the essential oils have been taken out. And this is when it's good, when you have it in a tea bag, because it's all there. You just apply it, kind of like rub it along your skin wherever you're most apt to get insect bites. You can try that. Have I done it? No, I haven't yet. But I may try that, because this weekend we're going to be busy in the gardens, and with all the rain that we got, it's going to be pretty buggy. Obviously my allergies are acting up. It can also be used on pets as a natural flea rinse. So if you make this tea, and we're just talking about the Feverfew, you make the tea and you cool it. Don't put hot tea on your pets, please. But it can be used as a flea repellent. I don't have a dog right now, so I did not know this. These are some of the notes that I came up with. Always test a small area on your skin as well as your animals. Some animals are very sensitive. So you don't want to have it, you don't want your puppies to be hurting either, so you just want to make sure that they are not allergic. So just a little place, see how they respond. And I mean, you don't put it on and then walk away. You just let it, and then say, oh, nothing's happening, and then just put it on. You want to give it some time, 10, 15 minutes. If there's no reaction, then it's probably okay. Add a 1/4 cup of fresh leaves and blossoms, or 2 tablespoons dried, to a cup of boiling water. Allow to steep for 5 minutes, strain and cold. So this type of tea is for 5 minutes. Now, they say flying insects generally hate the pungent smell of the growing plant. So if you're plagued with mosquitoes, try planting in pots on your patio. Even the cut flower stems in a vase can deter flies. I put them there because that's the walkway, and we typically don't have a lot of bugs, and it could be because I have a variety of herbs in the yard. We still get them. We had 2 weeks of black flies that we hadn't had in a long time, and then all this moisture, we've gotten a few mosquitoes, but it hasn't been as bad as we thought. And part of it is we do have bug zappers, and those help. And we have one bug zapper right in the chicken coop. So anytime a bug is hit, it goes right into the chicken coop. And sometimes they chase after it. And if you're out there to see that, it's kind of funny. So let me see if there's any other notes that I wanted to share. Some migraine sufferers, and I didn't do that, choose to chew on the leaves. Like you might be walking by and you might pick the leaf up and just chew on it. I have not done that, which is not bad. Now, some gardeners with chronic migraines like to eat a few leaves every day while they're out there, disguised in a sandwich or a salad to mask their bitter flavor. And they do, they have a bitter flavor here. But when eating fresh leaves, people can develop canker sores after consuming the fresh leaves or liquid. So people who want to take this every day tend to use capsules. I tried this because I wanted to know what it tasted like. It's bitter, but I'm not going to go out and eat this all the time because I don't like that. But I will put it in a tea because all of that will be dispersed. The powerful herb is certainly handy to have on hand, especially if it's so easy to harvest and preserve. And it is. I got my plants from somebody else who was downsizing. Well, she wasn't downsizing. It's just that the plant is very prolific and it grows and expands and so forth. So you may want to get a couple and then split it up and plant around your yard, and then just to have it. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on, and in some cases it's hard to get medicine. And if you have migraine medicine, I do. I actually do. I haven't used it. Honestly, I haven't used it in a couple of years. That's cool. So if you don't want to use the pharmaceuticals, or because people are talking about the shortages, you may want to have something like this on hand. And if you cannot grow it, say you're in an apartment and you don't have it, or it's late in the season and you haven't had a chance to grow it, you can always purchase dried herbs online, at least right now. That might change over time, but you have that option. So, Feverfew, it's great for headaches. It's great for bug repellent. You know, after you've made your tea, take that and just rub it, most especially in the summertime. Rub it along your skin. You'll be fine. You can put chamomile in it and do the same thing. So however you make your tea. Now, bees are drawn to my bee balm. Also, the hummingbirds, the butterflies, the bees, they love bee balm. And that's why I love them. I love them for that, but I love the smell. It has a very unique smell to it. Now, Feverfew, it does have a smell. It's not very flowery or anything like that. It's kind of like a smell. And that's probably why the mosquitoes don't like it. But I don't really notice it as much as I do with the bee balm. The bee balm, I bring it over. I don't even have to have it up to my nose, and I can smell it. So, and then, let's see, the chamomile. Oh, the chamomile has a sweet smell. So you can use these in a variety of ways. And chamomile is very, very calming. And that's why I take the three of them, bee balm, chamomile, and Feverfew at night. If I wake up or before going to bed, if I'm not feeling the greatest and I have a headache type thing, I make a blend like that. And I'll drink that cup before going to bed. And I might put in some garlic infused honey for the medicinal purposes of that. But you don't have to. This flavor is actually quite nice. The bee balm, I don't put any sweetener in at all. I love having a bee balm tea. But these are some things that I do, and I truly, truly recommend that if you haven't tried this, consider doing it. When my husband was getting a lot of migraines, and when I was seeing a doctor that he was promoting a supplement. And he was on the computer saying, oh, this one might work, and this one might work. And I'm like, you don't know? I said, what you don't know about that particular medication is, yes, when it was first started, it used all those herbs, but it stopped using the key elements that made it a good migraine medicine. Because what happens in manufacturing, they make adjustments, they'll change things out, take something out. So always, it's not just with your food, it's with your herbal medications, it's with your vitamins, it's with everything. You want to compare your packages and say, did anything change? Because if so, and it's not opened, you can return it, or you can chance and take it. I'm not here to tell you how to take your medicine or what to take. This is why I use herbs as much as possible. We're getting away from drugs. We do have different things on hand, but not as much as what most people might have on hand as they're preparing to make sure they have stuff, like those who have like preppers and homesteaders. My arsenal of health comes from my herbs, and that's why I do that. Some people are not herbalists. Some people, they use some basic ones. And this is why I'm trying to share what the benefits of these things are, is so that if you have them in your yard, or you know somebody who has them and they'll give them to you, or you can buy some, you can go to a natural food store, you can buy them dry online, you can acquire these herbs dried already for you, so you don't even have to worry about it. I like being prepared, and so this is what I do. If there's medications that are not on the market in the near future, I'm not worried about it. I am concerned about where we are going with health, with our healthcare system. It's really hard because we keep getting new medications. And one of the things when I was researching the Feverfew, there were ads popping up for different ailments and stuff. And then they would read a bunch of stuff in it, and I'm like, why would anybody take that medication? and it shares all the dangers in some of them. Friends, I really would like to see you take the time to know what is going into your body. Yes, I want you to trust your physician if they recommend a medication for an ailment that you have. But you have a relationship with your physician or your care provider, whoever you are seeing for this kind of stuff. If it's a respectable relationship, you can ask questions and they can give you answers. The answer that I don't like is, well, everybody tolerates it. Most people tolerate it. So you do not have to pick up the medication when they prescribe it. You just ask the doctor to write it down. Generally speaking, it's on your after visit summary that some people can get it online, or you can get a copy of it before you leave the doctor's office. They'll list that medication that they've talked about. So you don't have to go pick it up. You can tell the pharmacist, hey, I want to wait on this. Go and look it up. Ask for the ingredients. Because sometimes the website, the pharmaceutical company that creates it, they don't list all that. So you might have to do a lot of digging. I did that with one medication, and by the time I got the information, I was like, no, I'm not taking that. You have choices. And I realize people might think that I'm saying don't follow your doctor's suggestion. I'm not saying that at all. Because people who use herbs irresponsibly are going to have the same type of side effects as somebody who doesn't take their medicine as prescribed or take too much. We have to be consumers of, how do I want to say this? You want to be a consumer who takes seriously the medication that you choose to use. Whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's herbal, all medications can cause harm to your body. And that's why when I share stuff with you, I want you to take time to research it a little bit yourself. Do I think these herbs are awesome? I do. And that's why I talk about it. But like I said, if you are allergic to ragweed, seriously allergic to it, and you have asthma attacks and all that, this Feverfew might not be for you. Those are the things you have to understand is what are your allergies? What things can you do? Can you responsibly make a little tea bag with these things in it with an appropriate amount to make a tea? If it says, use half a teaspoon, that's all you want to put in there because herbs are so potent. And if you put too much, now some herbs are fine. Like turmeric, you can take a lot of that. But I usually take 2 little capsules every morning and it kind of keeps pain off. But sometimes when the pain is here or I haven't had turmeric for a while, I might start doing it 2 or 3 times a day until the pain subsides and my body gets acclimated to it being in my body. Same thing with this. If you find that it's working for your migraines, you can kind of go back and not have to take it so much. Maybe you're taking it twice a day. You'll find that, hey, I don't have a headache. You might want to cut it back to once a day, maybe at night before you go to bed so that you're comfortable and you're relaxed and the stress of your day is behind you. That might work for you. And then someday you might find that you don't need it anymore because you've made some lifestyle changes. Be very careful on the drugs that you're putting into your bodies, folks. Be very careful of the foods that you are putting into your body. Something simple as applesauce. I was looking at some and, I was really kind of appalled by the fact that they had other ingredients in it. They didn't need to put that in applesauce. Applesauce is apples and maybe some sugar. That's it. You don't need to put anything else in it. So, anyways, folks, I hope this was informative, and I hope you do take caution whenever you use herbs. These, in my opinion, are safe. Scientists will tell you, well, they haven't been studied. Well, in a sense, they have in the realm of people using it. But they haven't been studied at how effective they are in terms of can everybody take it? Well, not everybody can take pharmaceuticals either. But they've been tested very differently than herbs. Use your own choice, your own decision, use your own critical thinking skills and make decisions. Does this work for me? Yeah. I've been using it for a long time. So I know that, oh, I gotta go and take that. You can get to that point, but one day at a time, one herb at a time. And when you add it, know that you've added it and keep it in the back of your mind when something's like off or something. Say you, like a medication that I recently was on, my bones and my muscles were hurting that I couldn't do the work that I was doing, but it was the only thing that I took, and it's something that in the past has caused this too. That's how we know when something is not right for our body. So be aware and take care. God bless.